The valley was silent, too silent for a place filled with life. Birds never sang there, deer never crossed, and no shepherd dared bring his sheep near. People called it the Valley of Fire, a cursed land where even the bravest hunters did not return. It was here, hidden deep between sharp black rocks, that the forbidden nest lay. Inside, fierce dragon hatchlings stirred. Their scales were small but hard as stone, their wings short yet sharp, and their eyes glowed like burning embers. The hatchlings had been taught one law since the moment they cracked their shells. Trust no soul. Kill any who come. No human, no beast, no other dragon was welcome in their nest. Their world was fire and claw, their language was growls and roars. Even among themselves, they did not share food without a fight. But one night, everything changed. The moon was high, hidden behind thick clouds. A storm was moving across the mountains, and the wind carried strange scents. The hatchlings hissed, lifting their small heads. Something weak, something unfamiliar was near. Then, stumbling along the rocky path, came a child. He was no warrior, no hunter. His feet were bare, his clothes torn, his hair wet with rain. His little hands shook as he tried to hold on to a broken branch for balance. The storm had separated him from the villagers far below, and now he was lost in the mountains. He did not know where he was walking. His lips whispered only one word, again and again. "Mother!" The hatchlings crept closer, their claws scratching against stone. They watched him with sharp, hungry eyes. Never before had a human child dared step into their nest. The boy slipped, falling to his knees near the rocks. He tried to stand, but his legs were too weak. His stomach growled louder than the storm. He had not eaten for days. A low hiss filled the air. The boy lifted his head, and froze. Around him, shadows moved. One by one, the hatchlings crawled out from the darkness. Their scales shimmered in the lightning, red, black, and green. Their teeth were sharp, their tails whipping against the stone. The boy's breath caught in his throat. His heart pounded like a drum. His body screamed at him to run, but his legs refused to move. The largest hatchling, a red-scaled one with a scar across its snout, stepped forward. It opened its mouth, smoke curling from its throat. The boy shut his eyes. This was the end. But the fire never came. Instead, the hatchlings circled him, growling low, testing. They had been told to kill intruders, yet they hesitated. This was no warrior with a sword, no hunter with traps. This was only a small, fragile thing. The boy shivered under their burning gaze. His small voice broke the silence. Please. I'm lost." The hatchlings hissed louder. They did not understand human words, but they felt the tone, soft, trembling, afraid. The red-scaled leader snapped its jaws close to his face, making the boy fall back against the rocks. Still, he did not scream. His voice cracked again, almost like a whisper. I don't want to hurt you." The hatchlings paused. For the first time in their short, wild lives, they felt something strange. This human did not carry the smell of iron and blood. His eyes did not burn with hunger or greed. Instead, they saw fear mixed with something else, a desperate hope. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, and the boy collapsed to the ground. Exhaustion claimed him. His eyes rolled shut, and his breathing slowed into sleep. The hatchlings moved closer. Their hot breath steamed against his skin. One tapped him with its claw. He did not move. Another sniffed his torn shirt, wrinkling its snout at the smell of rain and dirt. The red-scaled leader lowered its head, ready to end him with a single bite. Its teeth gleamed inches from his neck. The other hatchlings waited, their tails twitching. But then, it stopped. Inside the boy's mind, a dream had begun. His lips curved into a faint smile as he slept. He was flying. His small hands gripped the neck of a dragon as it carried him through the sky, above the clouds, free and laughing. The hatchlings froze. Their eyes widened. Somehow they saw it too. Not with their eyes, but with something older, deeper, an ancient bond between dragon and dreamer. They saw his dream of dragons not as monsters, but as friends. They felt his heart, unafraid in that dream, pure in its wish. The red-scaled hatchling pulled back, confused. It had never seen such a thing. The others hissed low, restless, unsure. Should they kill? Should they spare? The boy stirred in his sleep, whispering one last word. Fly. And the nest fell silent. The storm passed, leaving only the sound of the boy's quiet breathing. The hatchlings did not kill him. They did not leave either. They gathered around him, their glowing eyes watching through the night. For the first time in history, the forbidden nest had a guest, a human child. And though none of them understood why, not one hatchling could bring itself to end his life. Something had changed. Something dangerous. Something powerful. The night in the valley was heavy with silence. The boy lay still, sleeping on the hard stone, while the circle of dragon hatchlings surrounded him. Their glowing eyes never closed, their small bodies tense like coiled springs. They did not sleep. They only watched. The red-scaled leader tapped the ground with its tail, restless. The rule was clear: no human must live. But when the boy had whispered in his sleep, when he had dreamed of flying, something strange had happened. The hatchlings had felt it. Dragons were creatures of fire and claw, but they were also creatures of dream and memory. Their kind had long carried the power to touch minds, though hatchlings rarely felt it so strongly. Yet here was a human child, lost and broken, who had shown them visions of the sky. The leader growled low, unsure. The others shifted, confused. Inside the boy's dream, the world was bright. He soared above the mountains, the wind rushing past his face. His small hands held tightly to the neck of a dragon, not fierce, not burning, but strong and proud. Around him, hatchlings flew, their wings wide and powerful, their cries loud with joy. In the dream, he laughed. He was not afraid. He was free. The hatchlings felt it as if they were there themselves. Their tiny wings twitched, their claws scraped against stone. The dream called to them, stirred something deep inside their young hearts. For the first time, they wondered if the law of "trust no soul" could ever be broken. The boy stirred awake with the first light of dawn. His stomach growled, his body weak. He opened his eyes slowly, and froze. They were still there. 7 hatchlings. Scales of red, black, and green. Eyes glowing gold and silver. Their wings were folded, but their teeth gleamed in the rising sun. The boy's lips trembled. He tried to push himself up, but his arms shook too much. He stayed on the ground, staring at them. I dreamed," he whispered. The red-scaled leader tilted its head. The boy's voice was soft, unlike the harsh shouts of villagers. The boy reached into his torn bag. His fingers found a small piece of bread, dry and hard, the last bit of food he had. His hand shook as he held it out. "Are you hungry?" he asked. The hatchlings hissed in warning. No human had ever offered them food. Humans only carried iron, fire, and ropes to trap. But this one held out a piece of his own hunger. The red-scaled hatchling stepped closer. Smoke curled from its mouth as it sniffed. Then, with a snap, it took the bread. The boy flinched, but the dragon did not burn him. It chewed, swallowed, and growled low. The others hissed louder, anger and confusion mixing. Trusting a human was against their blood. But the smell of food was too tempting. One by one, they inched closer, their claws scraping against the stone. The boy broke the bread into tiny pieces, handing each one out. His fear never left, but his hands stayed steady. For the first time, the hatchlings ate beside a human instead of killing one. When the last crumb was gone, silence fell again. The boy's stomach still ached, emptier than before. He had given away the last of what he had. Yet, strangely, he smiled. "You're not monsters," he said softly. "You're just alone." The hatchlings did not understand his words, but they felt his tone. His voice carried no hate, no greed, only simple truth. The red-scaled leader sat back, tail curling around its legs. It studied the boy with eyes brighter than fire. Why had it spared him? Why had the others followed? Something in this child's dream, something in his giving hand, had changed the air around them. But not all dragons were blind. High above the mountains, far from the nest, a shadow stirred. The elder guardian of the hatchlings spread its massive wings. Its scales were dark as iron, its roar heavy as thunder. It had sensed something strange from afar, a new scent, a human scent. The guardian turned toward the valley, fury burning in its chest. No human must live among its young. No human must taint the nest. The ground shook as the great wings carried it closer. The air filled with heat, with rage. The hatchlings felt it too. Their ears twitched, their tails lashed. The guardian was coming. The boy did not know. He sat weak and tired, his eyes half closed, whispering words they could not understand. But the hatchlings knew. They had broken the law. They had spared a human. And soon they would pay the price. The boy leaned against a rock, his small hand resting near the red-scaled leader's claw. He did not notice the storm of wings above. He did not see the shadow falling over the valley. But the hatchlings did. They hissed in fear and anger, their eyes darting to the sky. The guardian was coming. And with it, the choice that would decide the child's fate. The wind screamed through the valley as the shadow fell across the nest. The boy looked up at last, his tired eyes widening. Above him, wings as wide as the sky blotted out the sun. The elder guardian had arrived. Its body was vast, its scales thick and jagged like black stone. Smoke poured from its mouth with every breath. Its roar shook the mountain, scattering loose rocks down the cliffs. The hatchlings crouched low, tails lashing in fear. The boy froze, his heart hammering in his chest. He had seen the hatchlings and thought them terrifying, but this was something greater. This was death itself. The elder landed with a quake, its talons digging into the rock. Dust rose, covering the nest in a gray cloud. The ground trembled beneath its weight. The boy staggered back, coughing. The hatchlings hissed and growled, but none dared move closer to the elder. The great dragon's eyes burned like molten fire as they fixed on the child. "A human," the elder growled. Its voice was deep, ancient, and filled with wrath. "Who has broken the sacred law?" The hatchlings shivered. Their bodies pressed close together, but their eyes did not leave the boy. The red-scaled leader stepped forward, chest heaving. It growled softly, a sound almost like protest. The elder's head snapped toward it. "You defend him," it thundered. Smoke hissed from its jaws. "You dare protect the enemy?" The hatchlings hissed louder, circling the boy, their small bodies trembling. They were tiny compared to the elder, but they stood between the child and death. The elder snarled, its tail smashing against the stone. "Fools! He will betray you, as all humans do. He will bring hunters, fire, and chains. You will burn because of him." The boy's lips parted. His whole body shook, yet he whispered, I don't want to hurt you." The elder reared back, stunned for only a moment, before fire filled its throat. The red-scaled hatchling leapt forward. With a loud hiss, it flared its wings and spat a small flame at the elder's chest. It was weak, barely a spark, but it was a challenge. The elder's eyes narrowed. "So, you choose this human." The fire in its throat dimmed. Instead, it lowered its head until its teeth gleamed inches from the boy. "Then let him prove himself." The boy gasped as the elder exhaled smoke over him, hot and suffocating. His skin burned, his eyes stung, but he did not turn away. The elder's voice rumbled like thunder. "If he can stand the fire, he may live. If he falls, he dies." The hatchlings hissed in alarm. This was not mercy. This was a trial, cruel and final. The boy's legs shook as the elder opened its jaws. The heat rolled over him, blistering, crushing. Then, with a roar, the elder unleashed a blast of fire. The flames roared across the stone, bright as the sun. The boy screamed, throwing his arms up, yet when the fire cleared, he was still alive. His clothes smoked, his skin burned red, but he had not run. He had not fled. He had stood. The hatchlings stared in shock. The boy's body trembled, but his eyes were open, wet with tears but burning with something stronger. I'm not afraid of you," he whispered hoarsely. "I dreamed of dragons, and in my dream you were not monsters. You were free." The elder's eyes narrowed. The words cut deeper than the fire had. For a long moment, silence held the valley. The hatchlings crept closer, pressing against the boy's legs, curling around him like a shield. Their small flames flickered in defiance, not at the boy, but at the elder. The guardian growled, torn between rage and something unfamiliar. "Dreams," it said at last. Its voice was softer, almost questioning. "You saw them in your dreams?" The boy nodded weakly, his throat raw. "Yes. I saw them fly with me. I saw them laugh. I saw hope." The elder pulled back, smoke hissing through its teeth. It studied the boy as though looking into his soul. Finally, with a growl that shook the stones, it turned away. "This is not over," it said. "If the human betrays us, his blood will be mine. But for now, he lives." The hatchlings hissed, part in relief, part in fear. The boy collapsed to his knees, his body trembling from pain and exhaustion. The red-scaled leader pressed its snout against his arm, sniffing the burnt cloth. The boy gave a weak laugh, despite his pain. "You didn't leave me," he whispered. The hatchlings chirped softly, their fierce eyes gentler now. For the first time, they had stood not just beside him, but for him. The elder spread its massive wings and took off into the sky, leaving a storm of dust behind. The boy watched it rise, his heart pounding. He had survived the test of fire. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The true trial had yet to come. The valley lay quiet after the test. Smoke still curled from the blackened stones where the fire had raged, and the boy's body shook with weakness. The hatchlings pressed close around him, their small flames flickering softly. They did not leave his side. But far above, the elder guardian circled in the clouds. Its massive wings cut the air, its eyes watching with anger and doubt. It had spared the child once, but deep inside, its fury only grew stronger. No human had ever been trusted. No human had ever entered the nest and lived. This boy had survived fire, yes, but that only made him more dangerous. The elder's roar broke the sky, rolling like thunder across the mountains. The hatchlings flinched, their scales bristling. They knew the sound. The guardian was not finished. The boy sat against the rocks, his skin red with burns, his body weak. Yet he forced a smile as the hatchlings sniffed at him. "You stayed with me," he whispered. His voice cracked. "You didn't let me die." The red-scaled leader blinked its glowing eyes, then nudged his arm gently. For the first time, the boy felt the warmth of their scales not as a threat, but as comfort. But the peace did not last. The sky darkened again. The elder descended, landing with a quake that shook the valley. Its roar sent stones tumbling down the cliffs. Dust filled the air, choking and heavy. The hatchlings spread their wings and hissed, circling the boy. Tiny compared to the elder, they still stood their ground. The guardian's eyes blazed. "Move aside," it thundered. "The human cannot stay. His kind will always betray. This is our law." The red-scaled hatchling hissed louder, flames sparking at its throat. The others followed, growling in unison. The elder slammed its tail into the ground, sending cracks through the stone. "You dare defy me," it roared. "I raised you to be fierce, to trust no soul. And now you guard a human-like kin." The boy's body shook, but he pushed himself to his feet. His legs barely held him. He looked up at the towering dragon, his voice weak but steady. They're not monsters. They're only alone. I dreamed of them. I dreamed of you. And in that dream, none of you were afraid." The elder lowered its head, smoke pouring from its jaws. "Dreams are lies," it growled. "Humans lie. Humans kill. I have seen villages burned, not by us, but by your kind. I have seen chains bite into dragon flesh. Do you think I will forget?" The boy's eyes filled with tears, but he did not look away. "I don't want to hurt you," he whispered. "I only wanted to belong." For a moment, silence. The words hung in the air, soft yet heavier than stone. The elder's chest rumbled with fire. "Then prove it," it said at last. "Prove you are not like the others. Prove with more than words." The hatchlings shifted, restless. They understood the tone, if not the words. A test was coming. The elder raised its head, scanning the mountains. It had sensed them earlier, shadows creeping closer, hearts filled with greed. Hunters. Men armed with spears, chains, and nets were climbing toward the valley. Their eyes burned not with wonder, but with hunger for dragon blood and dragon eggs. The elder's growl shook the sky. "Your people come," it said. "If you are truly different, stand with us. Stand against them. If you betray us, I will burn you where you stand." The boy's heart froze. Hunters. His own kind. Could he fight them? Could he raise his hand against humans to save dragons? The hatchlings pressed closer, their eyes glowing with trust. The boy swallowed hard, his fists clenching. "I'll prove it," he whispered. The elder's eyes narrowed. "Then let this be your trial. When the sun sets, the hunters will reach this nest. If you fight beside us, perhaps you live. If not—" It let the words trail off, the meaning clear. The boy's knees trembled, but he stood straighter. For the first time, the fear in his eyes burned into courage. "I will stand with them," he said. "I will stand with my friends." The hatchlings hissed in approval, their small flames sparking in the air. The elder turned away, wings rising. "Then prepare yourself, child. At dusk, your truth will be revealed." With a roar, it rose into the sky again, leaving the nest in heavy silence. The boy sank back to the ground, his body weak but his heart stronger than ever. The hatchlings curled around him, their warmth like a shield. He looked at the red-scaled leader and whispered, "We'll fight together, won't we?" The hatchling's eyes glowed, and it gave a soft growl, almost like a promise. The boy closed his eyes for a moment, his breath heavy. The trial was set. At sunset, hunters would come, and the child would face not only his kind, but the choice that would define his place among dragons. The sun sank low over the mountains, painting the sky with red fire. The valley darkened, and the hatchlings stirred restlessly. They could sense danger. Their wings twitched, their small flames crackled, and their eyes darted toward the cliffs. The boy stood in the middle of the nest, his body weak but his heart burning with determination. He clenched his fists and looked toward the shadowed slopes. He heard them before he saw them, boots scraping against rock, armor clinking softly, voices hushed with greed. The hunters were coming. From the cliffs, men climbed closer, armed with spears tipped with iron, nets weighted with steel, and chains meant to bind. Their eyes gleamed in the fading light, hungry for dragon flesh and dragon eggs. One of the hunters pointed toward the nest. "There," he hissed. "The hatchlings. Small, but worth more than gold. Take them alive if you can. Kill the rest." The boy's stomach twisted. These were his own kind, humans. Men who might have lived in the same villages he had passed through. Yet their eyes were full of cruelty, their hands eager for blood. He looked at the hatchlings gathered around him, their small bodies trembling, yet fierce. They trusted him. They believed he would not abandon them. And he would not. The hunters reached the edge of the valley. One raised his torch, its light glowing across the nest. And then they saw him. A boy standing among the dragons. "There's a child," one of them barked. "Move aside, boy. These beasts are not yours. Leave now and live." The boy's throat tightened. Fear clawed at him, but he forced himself to stand tall. "They are not beasts," he shouted, his voice cracking but strong. "They are my friends." The hunters laughed, a harsh sound that echoed against the cliffs. "Friends? With monsters?" The leader sneered. "Step aside, or we'll take you too." The boy's chest burned, but he shook his head. "No." The first hunter raised his spear and charged. The hatchlings hissed, flames sparking from their throats. The red-scaled leader leapt forward, spitting fire that struck the ground before the man, forcing him back. The hunters roared in anger. "Kill them all!" the leader cried. The valley exploded into chaos. Spears flew through the air. Nets were hurled, chains clattered against the rocks. The hatchlings darted and snapped, their small flames burning bright. The boy grabbed a fallen branch from the ground and swung it wildly, striking a hunter who came too close. "Stay back!" he screamed. The man cursed, stumbling, but another lunged toward the nest. His net opened wide, flying toward the red-scaled hatchling. The boy didn't think. He threw himself forward, knocking the net aside. The weight slammed into his shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. Pain flared through him, but he gritted his teeth and pushed back up. The hatchling chirped in alarm, curling protectively around him. "I'm okay," the boy gasped. "I won't let them take you." The hunters pressed harder, surrounding the nest. Their torches lit the rocks with fire, their shouts filling the air. The boy's body ached, but he fought on, using his branch like a spear, striking at legs and arms. The hatchlings clawed and snapped, their tiny wings flapping furiously. Flames burst against shields and armor, weak but defiant. Still, the hunters were many, and the hatchlings were few. The boy's chest filled with dread. They couldn't win. Not alone. And then the ground shook. A roar split the night, louder than thunder, shaking every stone in the valley. The hunters froze, eyes wide with terror. From the clouds, the elder guardian descended, its wings blotting out the stars. It landed with a quake, fire spilling from its jaws. The men screamed, "A guardian! Run!" But there was no escape. The elder unleashed a wall of fire that lit the cliffs like day. The hunters dropped their weapons, their nets burning, their armor glowing red. They fled, scrambling down the rocks in terror, leaving behind the smoke and the screams of their failure. When the flames died, the valley was quiet again. Only the boy and the hatchlings remained, their small bodies trembling but alive. The boy dropped to his knees, breathless, his chest heaving. His branch lay broken on the ground, but his heart beat strong. He had stood with them. He had not run. The hatchlings pressed around him, chirping softly. The red-scaled leader rubbed its snout against his shoulder, its eyes glowing with fierce pride. The boy smiled weakly, tears stinging his eyes. We did it," he whispered. The elder stepped closer, its massive shadow covering the nest. Its eyes glowed like fire as it looked down at the boy. For a long moment, it said nothing. Then, with a low rumble, it spoke. "You fought against your own kind. You risked your life for ours. Why?" The boy looked up, his face pale, his body trembling with exhaustion. Yet his voice was steady. "Because they're my friends. Because I dreamed of a world where dragons were free, and I wanted that dream to be real." The elder's gaze burned into him, searching for weakness, for lies. But there were none. Only truth. The elder's chest rumbled, not with anger, but something heavier. Something it had not felt in centuries. Respect. The night was quiet once more. The hunters had fled. The nest was safe. But the bond between the boy and the hatchlings had been sealed in fire. The elder knew this was no accident. This child had been chosen, not by fate, not by law, but by the dragons themselves. And so, for the first time, the elder lowered its massive head and bowed, ever so slightly, before a human child. The valley was quiet at last. Smoke drifted from the scorched stones where the hunters had fled. The moon rose high above the cliffs, bathing the nest in silver light. The boy sat in the center, surrounded by the hatchlings. Their small bodies pressed against him, their flames soft and gentle now, not fierce. They chirped quietly, almost like lullabies. He was tired, burned, and bruised, but his heart was steady. For the first time in his life, he felt he belonged. The elder guardian stood nearby, its massive wings folded against its sides. Its eyes glowed as it watched the child and the hatchlings together. The fire in its gaze was not anger anymore. It was something else. Something the dragons had not felt for humans in countless years. At last, the elder spoke. "You stood against your own kind. You bled for them. You could have run, but you did not." The boy raised his head, though his body trembled with weakness. "I couldn't leave them," he said softly. "They trusted me. And I trusted them. That's what friends do." The elder's chest rumbled, not in rage, but in thought. "Friends," it repeated. The word was strange on its tongue, heavy with meaning. The red-scaled hatchling crept forward, eyes shining in the moonlight. It nudged the boy's arm gently, then gave a soft growl. The others followed, pressing close, their flames flickering warmly. The elder lowered its head, studying the bond between them. "The law was clear," it said at last. "No human was to be trusted. No human was to be allowed near the nest. But tonight, you broke that law. And yet—" It paused, its voice deep as the mountains. "Tonight, you also saved us." The boy's eyes filled with tears, but he smiled. "I only wanted a place," he whispered. "A place where I wasn't alone." The elder's gaze softened, though its face remained stern. "Then you have found it," the boy gasped. His heart leapt. The elder spread its vast wings, the wind from them sweeping over the nest. "From this night forward," it declared, its voice rolling across the valley, "this child is one of us. Not human, not dragon, but something between. He is bound to the hatchlings, and they to him. Together, they are our future." The hatchlings hissed in triumph, their flames sparking high into the night. The boy laughed through his tears, his chest burning with pride. He had come as a stranger. Now he belonged. The elder lifted its head toward the stars. Long ago, humans and dragons were enemies. Blood was spilled, chains were forged, trust was broken. But perhaps, it paused, its voice softer now, perhaps this child is proof that not all is lost. Perhaps the old wounds can heal. The boy listened, his heart swelling. The elder looked down again, its eyes fierce yet gentle. "The world will not understand," it warned. "Humans will fear you. Dragons will doubt you. Both sides may turn against you. But if you are strong, if you remain true to your bond, you may change what no one else has." The boy nodded, though fear flickered inside him. "I'll try," he said. "For them, and for you." The red-scaled hatchling let out a loud cry, wings flaring. The others echoed it, their voices rising together. The sound filled the valley, not a roar of anger, but a song of hope. The elder listened, its chest rumbling softly. For the first time in centuries, it felt the warmth of belief. It looked at the boy one last time. "Then rise, child of dreams," it said. "You are no longer alone. From this night, you walk with dragons." The boy stood slowly, his legs unsteady, but his heart strong. He looked at the hatchlings gathered around him, their eyes glowing like stars. He smiled and whispered, "Then let's dream together." The hatchlings chirped and pressed closer, their flames lighting the night like tiny lanterns. Above them, the elder spread its wings and soared into the sky, its roar echoing across the mountains, a roar not of wrath, but of hope. And so, the story of a lonely boy and a nest of fierce dragon hatchlings became the first spark of something greater. A new dawn had begun. Not for humans, not for dragons, but for both. Together.